My name is Amber McIver, and I'm going to be presenting on the importance of language and literacy in early childhood. Maine ranks 28 in the United States in their education. 50% of this comes from their pre-K through 12 screening, where we rank 17th. 1 in 3 American students enter kindergarten without the skills that they need to learn to read. This is a huge thing that I see every single day, and I know as educators, we all probably feel this way. Even as they get older and older and older, we start to find the achievement gaps that show a lot of these students have missed significant and important parts of their skills in order to be able to read, whether it be phonics or basic comprehension or building upon skills. We find these gaps every day. The learning goals for this presentation are to learn to differentiate the two types of language, to establish strategies for developing early language, and to determine strategies to use in the classroom and to help families enhance their language skills. I'm going to watch this quick video.
Hi girls! It's August 6th. Is that right?
Yeah.
August 6th, 2012. Daddy's gonna play them a little song while they're eating their
Girls ready?
peas.
You guys ready?
Now, what did you notice about that? The biggest thing that I noticed, and this is because a lot of my work has been with early childhood, is the ability to move with music. We all know that music is important in early development, but it also teaches them a lot more than just rhythm. So with these two babies, they were mimicking each other. And a big part of early learning is mimicking. So whether you're a parent or you're trying an educator that's trying to stress the importance of parenting and mimicking with early education, these are really crucial things. The everyday things that we do that we don't even think about as educators. So they're mimicking each other, but that just goes to show that they're also mimicking family members, friends, and especially us as their teachers. They're mimicking everything that we do, from how to produce sounds, showing them, really making them focus on our mouth when we're pronouncing words and enunciating sounds, as well as mimicking actions that we do, whether it's clapping syllables or rhyming. These types of mimicking activities are very crucial and very important in early learning and literacy. So there's two types of language. There's expressive language, which is the use of language, being able to name objects, people, actions, using words correctly, making sentences out of those words, and being able to go from one word to two words to full, complete sentences, and being able to communicate needs. Then there's receptive language. This is a big thing that I have been really noticing a lot, especially with my younger students, and something that I've become a lot more conscious with is students' ability to possess skills for receptive language. A lot of the students that I've been working with, especially this year, they don't understand language. So they struggle with understanding what it is that's being asked of them and able to perform to their best ability. This also shows that they may have issues with following directions because they're not understanding what the directions are or able to organize those directions in their head. Receptive language is also talking about identifying objects, people, actions, understanding questions that are being asked to them, about them, or of them, and understanding different concepts, whether they be simple or abstract. This is a huge component to language, and one that I professionally did not even think of a lot of until lately. There's different strategies that you can use and that you can communicate to parents for using. The biggest one being to observe and listen. Imitate. Mimic what they're doing. If they start with one sound, then you can expand on their knowledge, model their language, and just continue. If a baby says ba, then you expand on that with ba, ba, ba. Limit the questions. This has always been something that I struggle with and that I've become a lot more conscious with within the last few years about limiting my questions and listening to other student teachers or other staff members in my classroom. The biggest thing that we tend to do is ask kids questions. What's your favorite color? What are you doing? What are you playing with? What does a pig say? All of these questions are overwhelming, especially for a child that has issues with their receptive language. Self-talk. I am picking up the pig. Parallel talk is talking about what they're doing. You are moving the pig. It's giving them the language to match the action that they're doing. Sing with them. Sing in the car, sing on bus trips, sing in the classroom as much as you can. Read. We really want to make sure that we are reading to students, having students read to us if they're able to, and encouraging reading at home. And one of the easiest ones is to talk. Have conversations with your students. Model the language and ability to have a conversation. Talk to them, talk to their families, encourage their families to have conversations, whether it be on the ride home from school or whether it be at the dinner table. But kids need to be surrounded by language and they need to be talked to and have the ability and the skills to talk themselves.
Uh-oh. Don't drop it.
As you can see, that is with my own daughter. These are just some simple things that I do with her as a parent, but I also do in my classroom. So depending on the language level of my students, depends on how I interact with them. This was very basic. As you can tell, she was about a year old when this video was taken. And I have some students in my classroom right now, although they are 4.5 years old, they still have the language skills of maybe a 1-year-old. And it's okay to use those strategies. You need to meet the students where they're at and be able to give them the opportunity to improve. Here just shows some different ways. So in the top left, you see the two boys reading together. They're sharing that literacy. The older boy is reading to the younger boy. This can be done through book buddies in school. It can be encouraged at home between siblings. It could even be in your classroom. Some classrooms just have different ability levels. You have your high student that's reading 3 grades below, and then you may have your low student that's reading 2 grades below. These students can still look at the same book and share that same love for that book. They just may not have the skills to interpret the book in the same way or use the book in the same way. In the bottom left, you see the dad with the daughter, and he's really looking at her, and they're having language and conversation between the two of them with sounds and noises. This is a big thing that parents can do, but it's also a big thing that we do as educators, really getting down on children's level and having that eye-to-eye contact so that they can see your expressions, they can see how your mouth is moving, everything like that. In the top right, you see the educator working with a child with Mr. Potato Head. This is something that we have in our classroom, and I'm sure a lot of people have within their classrooms or are easily accessible to. Something that I do, this is where I do the parallel talk. So you are putting the hat on. That is a green hat. I do use questions here. It's not that questions are bad, but sometimes we're just always asking questions. We're not modeling the language for them. We're just always pulling from them to see what they know. So I may say, point to the ears, or where are your ears? Different things like that. Simple directives that can show what a child knows. And if they don't, that gives you the opportunity to show them. In the bottom right, you can see that the mom is reading a book. Reading is important. They say reading 5 books a day before you hit kindergarten will set you off in kindergarten to know 1,000,000 words or be exposed to 1,000,000 words. This really helps with vocabulary and being able to have those simple discussions and comprehension about books. Whether you're doing it with a couple of students or you're doing a whole class read aloud, or you're just modeling for parents on how they can read with their child. The biggest thing is that reading aloud, you don't have to think about the level of the text as much because you're the one doing the reading. Just have to make sure that the idea of the book and the comprehension is not too much for them. Use language in every aspect of your classroom day. So having a language-rich environment, being able to have discussions with your students, encouraging your students to have discussions with each other or as a group or as a class, being able to have those labels with the pictures so that students can tangibly see that that is a table. Table begins with T. And when I say table, I hear the T sound. All of these things, all the way up, help students develop those early language skills that make it crucial for their literacy and language development. Classroom teachers need to provide language-rich environments. This goes back to having labels in the classroom and really giving students that opportunity to associate words with objects or actions. Model language from all school personnel. So even if a student brings a note up to the secretary and they mispronounce a word, really being able to stop and take that teachable moment to model the language so that it's not constantly coming from the teacher, but it's really everybody in the has the ability to be able to interact with these students and develop their language. Hold parent workshops in the spring to inform parents of strategies and really how easy it is to shift some things in their daily life. If anybody is interested in helping with this, you can see me after. Use assessments to measure growth. Pre-K and kindergarten will use the Dial-4, and although some of that seems overwhelming in the beginning of pre-K and a little hard for them, the hope is that they develop some of those skills throughout pre-K and really show success throughout the year of kindergarten. Make sure speech referrals are done before Thanksgiving break. This gives the opportunity to get all the services and all the testing done so that students can receive services this school year instead of waiting until the following school. There's always potential concerns. What if parents and some school personnel do not buy in? What if there's skewed testing results? The consistency of language or environment is not there. This is something that we all need to look at as a staff. These are things we need to be aware of, and these are things that we need to work through. Not everything is going to be perfect in the beginning, but we really need to work together and acknowledge these at the beginning. Frederick Douglass said, "Once you learn to read, you will forever be free." This is something that I hope all students find the love for learning, reading, and literacy, and that we are the people that give it to them. Because of the staff at Calais Elementary School, they were able to read and learn to love reading and be successful in their everyday life.